Before we go further with the style wars, we'll open it up to the floor in a minute, guys. But finally, the World Boxing Super Series held a hashtag First Question competition on their social networks this week. The question from @Babs_SP. This is to both fighters. Considering the careers both of you have had and how much is on the line on Saturday, how do each of you think their opponent will respond to defeat? Chris?
You know, the honest answer to that question is I genuinely haven't even processed the outcome of the defeat. That it just hasn't entered my mind. I've replayed this fight hundreds of times, you know, in my mind, in my dreams, and you know, I visualized George getting knocked out and I'm standing over him. I visualized the referee stopping the fight. I visualized Shane waving the towel and throwing it in, and I visualized George quitting on his stool just because he just doesn't want any more of the firepower. Not once have I ever visualized myself losing and having to make a speech or whatever. So, yeah, you know, I'm a winner. I don't lose. I don't think about losing.
But going back to the question, how do you think your opponent will respond to defeat? That was the question.
My opponent? Oh, okay. In that case, well, that's another thing I haven't really focused on. I'm not worried about George and his emotions and how he's going to deal with the fight and what he's going to do after the fight. You know, he's lost before on the stage of this. He's been definitively beaten by other men. I haven't. He knows how to lose. He knows how to get knocked out. You know, his chin has an off button. Mine does not. So George will take the loss in his stride. Maybe a retirement afterwards, sail off into the sunset, enjoy himself, enjoy the money. You know, I'm going to help you buy the boat, George.
George?
I'd probably blame his dad and then back down to middleweight.
So we have a fantastic fighting prospect. Questions from the floor, please.
Well, I'm jumping into boxing. Does the winner of
Just wait for the microphone, thank you.
Oh, I'm jumping into boxing. Does the winner of this fight win the tournament?
Well, do we, Carlo? Is that question for me? No, it's a semi-final. We've got a great semi-final next week as well.
Yes, no, but the winner of this one.
It's a semi-final, but I believe that in the minds of the people, this is kind of like the final. But Callum Smith, Eubank, they're both two solid fighters, and you know, whoever I face in that final, it will be a superb fight.
Hi, it's Bernadette from Boxing Disclosure. To Chris, please. Obviously, in the past, people have mentioned that your power hasn't been there. What have you guys been doing, obviously, in the gym to improve that?
Well, you know, my stoppage ratio, I think, is like 75%. People don't go 12 rounds against me. So my power is fine. Anthony Mildred understands that, and George will soon understand that. I haven't really changed anything in my training camp. You know, I've just been focusing on the things I think will, you know, suit me best in a fight against George's style. You know, he's got holes in his game, which we have worked on diligently to exploit, and you guys get to see that on Saturday.
Back there, just a minute.
Hi, this is Aaron Cooper from Three Kings Boxing, and this question is for George. George, leading up to this fight has somewhat been a role reversal in that Chris seems to have been doing the same sort of thing that you were doing in the first Carl Frost fight. Do you think that that's strategy, or do you think that that's just who he is?
I don't know. I haven't really paid that much attention to it. Probably who he is.
Thank you.
Hi, George, this one's for you. Obviously, Chris uses a lot of speed. I heard that you guys have been working on speed and flurries of combinations. Is that something that you've been working on in the gym for this particular fight?
Believe it or not, every fight we work on speed and power and everything else that goes into boxing. So nothing special this time around. We've been doing well of late. Obviously, tactically wise, you would slightly adjust for each opponent, but it's pretty much the same.
You work on speed for every fight?
Well, we work on it. When I punch up.
Why are you so slow then? I don't see any speed in your technique, so I guess you need to, I don't know,
Well,
you need
we'll see something.
to switch up your training methods, because that speed is, it's just not there, man.
Well, we'll see. See who's landing.
Anyone else? At the back, please.
Question for Chris, Joe from What Boxing News. Since the Billy Joe Saunders defeat, what have you learned? How have you improved since then?
The number one thing I learned in that fight was to start from round one. I paced myself too early in that fight, through inexperience in my first 12-round fight. And since then, I've never made that same mistake. I start as I mean to go on. And Saturday night will be no different. From round one, I will be on top of George, punishing him for having the arrogance to step into the ring with me.
And question for George. In terms of fights, where does this rank in all your fights that you've done so far?
Not on top. It's a fight. It's a meaningful fight. It's going to be a fight that obviously I've got to pay attention to. I'm fully prepared. Not expecting an easy night, but far easier than previous fights I've had. So it's
Far easier than what fights? Can I just ask? I'm interested in that statement.
Do you want to know? Yeah.
Yeah, I know I do, yeah.
Okay, so this is easier than the Big Ale fight, both the Frosh fights, the Baddy Jack fight, the Juvenile fight.
So pretty much every fight in your career so far, this is going to be easy. I love that mindset.
I've had a lot more fights than that.
I love that
I've had a lot of
mindset.
big fights, a lot of tough
I
fights.
love that mindset because either he genuinely believes that,
I do.
and that means that he's underestimating me, which is very dangerous, or he's lying and he's a fraud. Both of those play into my favor.